Welcome back to the Serenity SMP. This is season 1, and I'm sitting here in my TNT Division headquarters office. I was working on my tower, but a more pressing job came up, and I decided to tackle that first. So, let's go check that out. This is what I've been working on. It's a spider farm. It provides string and spider eyes. So, the TNT Division headquarters has a redstone shop in the lobby, and in order to make dispensers, you need bows. In order to make bows, you need string. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to make my spider spawner useful. It means string for me, so I can finally build my mob farm that I wanted to build, and string for the TNT division, so we can profit off redstone. So to make this farm, it's pretty simple. You need a 9 by 9 room centered around the spawner. You want to go 3 blocks down from the spawner and 5 blocks up from the spawner. You can count them there. Once you have that room set up, put water in this corner, you put water in this corner. And you'll see, like in the spider farm, if you remember back to that episode, the water stops here, like this. And if you break these 4 blocks and these 4 blocks, the water flows down into the end right here. Then, simply enough, we place 3 signs, put some wall, and there's just some hoppers over here with some slabs over them. The ceiling here is slabbed. And then we just add some water here to push everything forward into this wall. And it works pretty good. It's a very manual farm, but that's okay. That's okay. Uh, we figured out that one load of dispensers for us is about 10 stacks, give or take, of string. So farming that out takes about an hour. It's really not that terrible. If we turn, so I made a switchable farm. You just make a bunch of observers point into a copper bulb right on top of the spawner, and you can turn it on and off with a lever like that. It's very easy. Not the cheapest way to do it, but an effective way to do it. So to use the farm, it's pretty simple. It's got these trap doors here to kind of prevent the spiders from hitting you. These are cave spiders, so you really don't want them to hit you. 2 or 3 bites from them, and you're a goner. I also enchanted a sword for this purpose. It's a looting 3 Bane of Arthropods 5 sword. It took me a lot of levels to do. Basically, we just stand here and we one-shot the spiders, and as they die, they drop XP. So we get XP from it. It's not the most amazing source of XP, but it works. And I think we're far enough away from the spawner that it can keep perpetually spawning. I believe I have to go around and light up some caves. There's mine shafts around here, so I went and I started to light those up. And there's a cave here that's already been lit up because I've gone and explored it at some point. So not much is spawning around here. Maybe we'll put a couple torches down here just to light it up a little better. Yeah, probably down in this area needs some lighting. Anyways, so the farm just works like that. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And yeah, you basically just stand there until you've farmed out everything you need to farm. You never have to worry about the spiders getting out because they can't pass through this tiny little gap. And their loot is pushed by the water stream into the hoppers, so it works very well. It's lossless. You don't end up with anything extra in your inventory. And it produces. It's a pretty good producer. All in all, it's a pretty simple farm to build. Just digging it out took most of the time. And it's not very resource intensive. It's 3 hoppers, some walls, a bit of slabs, and some chests. Can't really make a cheaper farm than that. There's no redstone required other than the switch that I made. And again, that switch is optional. You don't need it. Getting to here, as you can see, is a bit of a process. So I was thinking of how I could make this a little bit nicer. I'm definitely going to have an elevator drop us down. And then I had an idea of what I wanted to do here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get that done in this episode, but I might try. It's basically what I was thinking is like a sewer pipe, but like, those big storm drains where people can walk in, like giant cavernous sort of drains. And I wanted to put some scaffolding along like a certain level, so it's as if people walk around the top of it, but the water's at the bottom. And Eventually, it would spit us out probably over here, probably down in this area here. Yeah, then we would just come down here and be able to activate the farm. So while we were working on the redstone shop and stocking it, it occurred to me that it would be a lot easier for us to use autocrafters to build all the redstone components that require multiple components and a lot of building. And I thought it would be pretty cool to house that in a factory. Now, the TNT Division is meant to be a community project. So we're here to help people. And I thought it would be neat if that factory was accessible to everybody. And basically, what it's going to be a building full of autocrafters that are pre programmed for redstone components. And anyone who wants to use it could just bring their own materials and make use of it. And I hope it helps people out. Before we go, I changed the lighting in here. I replaced the torches with this. It keeps it just light enough, not too bright. And eventually the bed and chest and workbench are going to go away, and this is going to be an actual entrance area. So I was thinking a good place to put the factory would be somewhere central to the server where our population mostly lives. And I came across this spot here. I just need to talk to the people who live around here to make sure that nobody has any plans for this area. But I think this would be a nice central spot, not too far from spawn. A lot of people's houses are here, so it might be convenient for them. All right, I've been working on this tower and I've made some significant progress. So, first of all the roughing up is done. So, we have all the sides all roughed up, except for the sticky outy bits. Those ones aren't roughed up yet. But if we come inside, this is going to be our entrance. We've got two elevators, one for the combatants, one for the spectators. Let's go up to the spectator area first. Up here, this is where everyone will stand around to spectate the fight, which is going to happen right below them, like that. There is another floor below the fighting floor, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use that as a preparation area or something else. And Hightower and I have been discussing it, and we think that it would be pretty interesting to have a chaos round where the arena is booby trapped. So let's take a look at how that's going to work. Go up this elevator, bounce a lot. Eventually, we get to the fighting arena. I'll fix it so it stops bouncing. And I'm thinking at each one of these holes, there's going to be a dispenser that's going to dispense something bad, good, I don't know. And then inside here is where all the redstone's going to be. I worked out a random number generator, but it might be a little big to fit in here. So not sure exactly what I'm going to do now that I see the space. I can put multiple levels of circuitry in here, make it work. Let's go break this here real quick. All right, we should be able to get down that way. So let's take a journey to my creative world where I've been testing this sort of stuff. All right, let's talk random number generators. So something like this will output either a 1 or a 0, let's say. One of these lights will go on, the other one will not. It works because the dropper outputs a random item once it's triggered. So when the dropper is triggered, it's going to put an item into this hopper. And depending if that item is stackable or not, so like a sword is not stackable versus a 64 stackable item, you get a different redstone signal strength coming out of here. So a 64 stackable item will output a signal strength of 1, and a non-stackable item will output a signal strength of 3. So in practice, we put a button on here. Put a button on here. Be able to see one lights up. There you go. So it's random. So how do we make this work for us? If we pair it with a clock, we get some delay between triggers of the lights. Turn this on. That light goes on. And if this light comes on, if the second light comes on, I'm going to dispense a potion just like that. Now I put a lingering potion in there. Not sure if that's what I'm going to use in the end, but just so that there's an obvious effect going on, we can see what happens. Now, if we use a lingering potion versus a splash potion, that means that the part of the arena that this splashes in, and it's a pretty big circle, is going to be tainted for the duration of the lingering. How long it lingers for, I'm sure I could look that up, but I don't have the answer right now. But this little thing can only power one of the dispensers, right? Because or two rather. You could have one or two. We have five dispensers that we need to power. What I've got here is a random number generator that can output a number from 1 to 15. When it's powered off, it should output a signal strength of 1. Seems to output 0, and that's great. Doesn't really matter how that works exactly because it's quite magical. Now I'm going to turn this on so you can see as it does its thing. Every time it does its thing, a different number of lights light up. Anyways, you get the idea. So the next step for me is to figure out how to couple this to each of the five dispensers and make only one dispenser trigger at a time. It's a really easy thing to build. This one has a little bit more particular item distribution. So each one of these droppers has one stackable and one non-stackable item in it. And each one of these hoppers in the back represents a different number along the chain, and they add up to make the total. This represents 1, this represents 2, this represents 4, and this represents 8. And each one has a different amount of blocks in it as Minecraft, and that's how that works. Not going to question it, I just know that it does work. My big hurdle right now is figuring out how to isolate the signal depending on which number is output. Okay, so we're back, and now we can see sort of how that might work in this space. The randomizer will go in here, and the dispensers will be up here, so we can probably work on a multi-level, like a multi-tier system in here, so we can isolate signals as we need them. And yeah, so that's the idea for the arena itself. There's still so much to do in here. I have to isolate the fighter's entrance from the main entrance. I have to put in a concession stand so that our audience can maybe have some food and drink while they're up there. I definitely have to make a whole bunch of potions, lingering potions and splash potions. Now, lingering potions takes dragon breath, and I think I have some. I'm really not sure, so that might be a bit of a problem. And then I have to decorate this place. So I've got my work cut out for me, and I'm going to go do that. So I'm back in the Redstone world, of course, not doing the things I said I was going to do, and I'm playing with Redstone instead because Redstone is so much fun. Now, I decided I wasn't going to use this thing because it was a little too complicated to isolate the signal. So instead, I broke it down and I used several of the original version. This guy, I used a couple of these. In the first iteration, I have one setup here that is basically determining which of the other two get triggered. So in this setup, there's only 4 dispensers in the fighting arena, not 5, like I had originally planned. Do a 5th one would make it very complicated, and I didn't really want to go down that road considering my space constraints. So I'm sure this looks like some serious spaghetti redstone. Basically, we've got our clock, it's doing its thing, and it triggers this guy. Then depending which branch of this guy gets triggered, it pushes a signal to one of the other 2. And so on and so forth until the signal comes up this chain of torches. So basically, what we're looking for is only one torch to go on every time the machine cycles. And then I realized that that gives me 36 potions, and I have about 1 second between every pulse, plus all the other random delay throughout the system. Basically means that the fight's going to have 36 seconds worth of potions. But a fight could take longer than 36 seconds. So, to make it longer, I added another step, even more spaghetti redstone. So basically, this is the same as that, but in this one, we have this extra step here. The clock is doing its business. It's sending a signal along here if it triggers. This one's only outputting if one of the conditions is met. And in here, in this dropper, I have 9 items, only one non-stackable. So the chances of actually triggering one of these torches to go off is much lower than in the other setup. Maybe this is not enough. I can always reduce the number of items in this dropper to make it faster. But each one of these droppers only has a 50-50 chance once it's triggered. So it's the same principle. If this triggers, this guy has a 50-50 chance to go to the right side or the left side. And on the left side or the right side, it has a 50-50 chance to pick one of the two options. So basically, if you really want to kind of understand it, the yellow redstone is the main logic circuit. Orange redstone is what's feeding the additional circuits, and then the red is the going up to the dispensers above. So I think I'm gonna end this episode here. But over the next couple of days, I'm gonna refine this. I'm gonna calibrate it to a speed that makes sense for a fight, and then I'm gonna install it in the arena, and hopefully it works well in application. Anyways, if you like what you saw, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.